Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Golden Shovel Wrestling Podcast, and this was a rather meh Friday, Monday in the WWE, and of course, we are looking forward to this weekend's Crown Jewel PLE from Perth, Australia. Let's get right into it. As always, we're back, the three-man team. Daz, how are we doing?
I am grand. Putting in some late night podcasting before a flight out to the other side of the world, where I've been done dirty because the one time you get a decent start in PLE, I'm in Mexico. So yeah.
Unfortunately, you're flying the wrong way.
Yeah.
For the PLE. And Ross, how are we on this fine Tuesday evening?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, we've done a really, really good job of selling this week's action. I will say Rob was actually all right. We can give Ross some credit. It was okay. It was passable.
I've Crown Jewel bones to pick with Ross.
Rob,
in fact, I'm just going to start. I'm going to start straight away by picking the first bone. We're not even supposed to start with SmackDown. I just want to say this because it was announced after Raw. But Penta's been stuck in the New Day Vortex, but somehow has an IC title match next Monday. I get that it's because it's a whole weekend thing in Australia. Like in Paris, they'll do a big show, but I think once again putting the IC title to Monday is a mistake.
I'm surprised that they don't have a six-match card though. I think they will. You could chuck that in somewhere.
I think they will, but I think it'll be. I don't think it could be an open challenge for Sami Zayn, and I think it could be Grayson Waller or Bronson Reed. Away, you got a big guy on the show somewhere.
Oh, it can't be Bronson Reed.
Well, stranger things have happened.
It can.
But yeah, it's probably Grayson Waller. That's why they brought him back into TV over the last kind of 5 to 6 weeks. I do expect, whether it's Friday or on the PLE, I would expect it to be Grayson Waller that answers the challenge.
We have been calling for that open challenge to make its way to a PLE at some point, just to help elevate it beyond just the Friday night. Speaking of Friday night, there's two things I want to pick out, and let's start with a positive, i.e. as the SmackDown correspondent, I'll come to you. Obviously, we did the news last week that Andrade had returned to the other place for numerous wellness violations. But a tag team of Rey Fenix and Javon Evans is a great way to expose Javon Evans to the main roster, but also, I guess, not tire out what is his athleticism, because I know that we mentioned last week that as much as his potential sky high, you pointed out, and we rightly agreed, that when was the last time someone who had that much athleticism was able to rise to the very top of the business?
Yep. That's a strange one for me. Like, I get that they've been left in the lurch for Rey Fenix and had to pair him with a tag team. They did the right thing in not doing the easiest option and shifting either him onto Raw or Penta onto SmackDown and just shoving the two of them together. This tag team will be an absolute joy to watch. I don't see the end goal. Because with Phoenix and Andrade, you've got a ready-made heel, and Andrade for when that inevitable team breaks up, because it's not a long-term booking. I don't know how this one they separate, because if I'm being honest, they should be tag team champions at some point. But
I was going to say that the risk is they actually get so popular so quickly that you've got to push them somewhere.
They will, because they love Javon, and Rey Fenix is a joy to watch in the ring. So I'm looking forward to the next 6, 8, 12 weeks, however many weeks these guys are together as a team. I'm just not really sure how we break it down. And this is probably just a product of what wrestling in the IWC has become, is that we now try to, with long-term booking and everything that's happened over the last couple of years, instead of just enjoying the moment and where we are right now, we always want to look ahead and see what that actually looks like. So, yeah, I'm in. I think it's going to be great. But why are they on SmackDown, man? Fucking throw Raw a bone.
Obviously, we'll try our best not to criticise long-term looking ahead, since that is 85% of the content of this channel.
True. Speaking
of people who love Javon Evans, Ross, I just want to touch on this without digging in too far, and maybe it's something you and I can dig into next week's squash, when, if Daz is one too many Coronas deep to partake fully. The method, or the lack of method, of bringing particularly the men through from NXT, because Javon Evans has almost jumped the queue here, because we've got Oba who, even though he dropped the title, does now appear to have been confirmed that he'll still be in NXT for a while. That seems, unless that's to throw us off, but we think through the end of the year. Trick Williams has done his main roster stint before, has been a champion. And also Ricky Saints and Ethan Page have definitely shown main roster potential, but Javon has now, I'm not saying he's going to be there every week, but they've clearly got a role for him on that main roster. So, A, how excited are you to see him potentially every week or every other week, because SmackDown can't figure out what the plan is? And B, what does it mean for the guys who, not saying they've been passed over, but were potentially ahead of him in the quote-unquote queue?
It is an interesting one. I like it. I think it's really, really good. I think that it potentially solves a little logjam in NXT by doing that. You know, if you take out your absolute top guy, there is obviously a chance that then the brand could be negatively impacted for a number of weeks until you establish who then fills the vacuum. If you take someone who isn't technically at the absolute top but is ready for the big stage and the big audiences, everyone wins. Javon Evans wins. SmackDown crowds will win.
I think the only people who lose
wherever he ends up
in that instance is NXT. It'll be so odd if this guy's swan song from NXT is the opening match with Josh Briggs, which was a good match.
Good match.
But it would be so against the grain of what NXT normally do when they pass them onto the main roster. It's just happenstance that he's fell into this because of what's happened. So, yeah, I'm looking forward.
It could just be a simple sink or swing type thing. It might just be
You've actually both made 2 points that just prompted something in my head. As you obviously mentioned about, Ross had mentioned about it does help a little bit with the logjam, it does create a space. And you'd mentioned about how, because it's a tag team that will have to split up at some point, how to do that. I guess the safety net of Evans moving before he's necessarily reached the top of NXT is, if he goes back to NXT, it's not a demotion, it's just him finishing the single story, I guess, if you like, in NXT. So if the situation is like Javon Evans chooses to go back to NXT to become a single star, and him and Rey Fenix break up amicably, there's a way to do it. But it's a bit shit, but there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to pick out for SmackDown, I know you're going to start shaking your head, Daz, is why is Chelsea Green eating a pin?
I think the only real answer is that we are building a redemption arc for Chelsea Green where she ditches.
I really hope so.
She ditches the current, not the full persona, but where we do bring up maybe an Ethan Page and revamp that stable that she's got and really make her into a competitor. And I'd like to think that from here until the Royal Rumble we'll get that build. I still think that she'll win the Royal Rumble. I still think that's the plan. They pivoted last year, as we know, from Unreal. They will need to find a new way to do it. Or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just do what they planned before, because it will still get pop. But I think we're at the point now with Chelsea Green where she's losing. I mean, it was just so disappointing in the way that played out on Friday night. But I do think there's more to it than just being almost squashed by a non-talent, because that's harsh, but just didn't make sense to me for her to eat that pin in that manner at this stage. So the only thing I can really think of is we're repackaging Chelsea to have a redemption arc out of this. I would think.
The one thing that stuck with me and come out with you, Ross, is that are they just going to keep digging a hole for Chelsea to eventually climb out? That's the only thing that I had in my head, because the secret Hereford really shouldn't work, but it kind of just about is. And I don't know if there's a plan to try and hold it until Piper Niven's back, or if there's a plan, if it is Charlotte, because Charlotte and Alexa haven't been shown too much. There's obviously something not quite right in that division.
Yep.
And it's clearly affected the plans. I think that's probably fair to say, Ross.
Yeah, I think so. I would actually kind of lean towards, I think Piper's not coming back is maybe where the pivots came from. And I don't necessarily hate it, because I mean, Alba will probably do okay. So there is something about her that you could probably still see that becoming something she just might need to maybe...
Future endeavoured in 12 months.
She might happen. She may have to pop down to NXT. You know, there's ways where she can still have a chance of doing something. There's
more shows now. You've got Triple A and you've got TNA all under the umbrella. It's not like she's going to be banished. But just once Chelsea Green cuts her loose, I'm not sure she's capable in that with the calibre of who we've got. I'm not sure she'll make it.
It'll be interesting though to see where it shakes out. We are massive Chelsea Green fans, so
100%.
if it's good for her, then good for us. Exactly.
And just the last couple of things to pick out before we full pivot into predictions from the weekend shows. I'm not going to bring up CM Punk returns because technically never left, didn't turn up after WrestlePalooza. But the single worst thing in the WWE right now is this opening heel promo, mid-show promo, tag team main event, and now we're getting into shows. Just please do something else. Don't ruin SmackDown. As soon as these cross-branded matches were announced, the shit from Raw has flowed to SmackDown, and SmackDown's just getting worse and worse and worse. And the things that are working very well are now being hidden. And if it wasn't for the Sami Zayn Open Challenge, and even then I wasn't too enamoured because Aleister Black's never going to be the guy. Again, something that was doing really well was used to further another non-story because nobody really cares about Damien Priest versus Aleister Black either. Just what have we even done there? Just stop wasting these shows. SmackDown, seeing Zarya and Sol Ruka was great, but also
Fantastic. Love that.
We kind of know it's not going to go anywhere until the titles are moved. The Sol Ruka moves the titles on. Seeing Javon's great, but why are we then bogging down the show? So again, maybe it's part of this potential deep dive into how the NXT transition works, and the issue was maybe we do a deep dive a few weeks on time. The issue with SmackDown, how we'd fix it, because it's ruining my Saturday morning trying to sit and watch it. Is what I'm trying to say.
You want to try watching it live on a Friday night? Let me tell you.
Oh no, I just flat refuse to watch it anymore unless it's a normal time. But a little bit of positivity from Monday, and I won't go into the full details of everything because we do have this 5 matches, but there was some pop and some reaction from Maxine Dupree, and I'm not saying it was a perfect performance, but I think she's a person that's really suffered for the lack of house shows, because there was a match about a year ago, maybe 14, 15 months ago, and people were actually saying there is something there, you can see improvement. But then obviously there's been issues with the stable she's been involved in, and it's pivoted and changed. But last night was like, it was the first time I went from that's an athlete to that looks like a wrestler. Seems to be she spent time at the dungeon, spent time with a lot of time in Natalia.
The work Natalia and Tyson Kidd have put in.
Phenomenal.
It's really shown. I know exactly the match you're talking about, and there was a lot of raw talent in there. It just looked clunky and wasn't well put together, and I totally agree. I think she's suffered from the lack of house shows. She's not had a chance to perform in front of a live audience. She's not had a chance to go out and work, even dark matches. You only get one a week per show, and Maxine Dupree's not going to be the choice for that. So it's really good to see her coming out, and kind of been the push she's getting is interesting. I'm really, really intrigued that she's been pushed into that kind of IC title a little bit. She's never going to win it. Oh, well, she might, to be fair. She might be a surprise winner. AJ Lee interference maybe or something, I don't know. But it's a really, really interesting position to be in, where you've got so much female talent on Raw that Maxine's been shuffled into the mid card title. I'm really intrigued by it. It's something a little bit against the grain of what we've seen so far. It tends to be the big, well-known names that get moved in, even if they are new to the brand. It's your Stephanie Viqueurs, your Julia. They're known and respected in the wrestling community, whereas Maxine Dupree's a total unknown entity. So yeah, I'm in to see where this goes.
The other thing, I'll just bring it for that, Ross, if you could give us your thoughts. Finally seen a lot of love from outside of this group in IWC for what Becky's done this year. It's easy to praise. It's easy to praise the feud with Punk and AJ Lee because of who's involved, and just say from a nostalgia point of view we love it. But a lot, even a few months ago when she beat Lyra, you were still seeing some Becky Hogan chants. Now people are saying, well, actually that IC title really means something when the person that's chosen to take it, and maybe Maxine is in that conversation, or could be in 6 months' time. It'll mean something to them Lyra's now this huge star that's getting a massive pop and putting on good weekly matches. People want to see her on TV. The Bailey story's still there for later on. The AJ Lee story's still there, but we then compare that to the US women's title. It's night and day. It just shows you
it's mad.
The importance of having the right person making something feel important.
Yeah, it's really a testament, I think, to how good she is at her job, that the feud with Lyra went on the exact amount of time that it needed to, and everything just worked perfectly. And then in one match, she has took another wrestler who, in some corners of the IWC, was a bit of a joke figure, and made her look like a stud. Genuine stud. Now, is that as simple as you put two people in the ring and they've clearly spent more than 2 minutes to tell a story within the confines of that match, because it was great, and there's some angles that they can take from that about where they take that from here. For all two of them, and even the referee, there is apparently some rumours that Jessica Carr has allegedly been training again to go back into the ring. So there's an angle.
She has been, because she has been wrestling under a mask in Evolve, I believe.
Yep. Has been for a while, to be fair.
Has been for a while, actually, since tail end of last year, I think.
So, like,
and there's also
angles.
She's El Grande Americano. I've just worked out.
It makes sense. It has to be.
There seems to be some angle going about as well that CM Punk paid her for a quick count at the end there. I don't know, man. I thought it was fun.
It was.
And
it was a lot of fun.
I thought it was nice where it happened, because obviously it broke up the monotony of I am the Vision and I am this, and obviously they've already planted the seed for Rollins and Heyman breaking up. So I kind of hope that happens sooner than later, but I've got a feeling it's going to happen around the Survivor Series mark, because Heyman's going to announce Brock as the extra guy, and Rollins is going to say, I never agreed to this, and they're going to fall out. And hopefully that's the fucking end of it, because it's shit and it's just not working. And that takes us lovely into predictions. Obviously, we don't know the order yet, so I've just stuck it in an order that makes some sort of sense. The reason why I said that Bronson's unlikely to be Sammy's challenger is, I think this was announced off Raw really late last night. I don't know how they done it, but first of all, shout out to Adam for his suggestion of what an Australian street fight might be. And that is a street fight, but they're hanging upside down, which would be interesting.
Great shout.
It's a great shout. Roman versus Bronson in an Australian street fight. I'll just jump right in, because it's a Raw match, and say that I do not see the point in this match at all. We had it in Paris.
No, we didn't.
We had a match in Paris. Had a match in Paris. There was no upside down street fight. I guess I'm predicting that there's only two ways this match can go, because we've kind of said on this show for the last few months that if Endgame is Roman versus Seth 1-on-1, which it has to be at some point, then Roman can't lose to these guys. So from that perspective, Roman would go over. The opposite perspective is that Braun Breaker interferes, and that sets up Roman versus Braun. But I kind of feel if that happens, you would do Roman versus Bronson 3 first. I'll just go right in after deep end, because the other matches have more of a story to talk about, I think. So keep this one quite short. I do have Roman get over. I don't think Roman's losing to another Samoan. I just don't think it's going to happen. Any of you guys want to pitch in and maybe even pick a different route?
I mean, there isn't another route. I don't understand the point. Is this literally we just need to cram them in, and there's going to be some awkwardness and some screwiness? Screw it. That guy's from down under, that side of the planet. Just get him on the card. Yeah, but we haven't really thought. Just do it. Just get him on the card. Is that the level of storytelling that we're going for? It's a shame.
Unless it is the War Game setup. Unless this is the War Game
setup.
setup.
It's thing that it can be, because the other four matches have something. You know, like you look at each of the matches, go, there's something. I can kind of see what they're trying to do, even if I might agree, disagree, etc. This one, shrug, I guess.
I'll go against the grain, right? And that there has to be a more of a purpose to this match than just putting Bronson on the card. And I think Bronson will go over for two reasons. Reason one is probably the lesser reason, in the sense that they can't keep losing. They can't. They physically can't. I'm not saying they win clean, but he can't keep losing. And if there's a time for them to pick up a win over Roman Reigns, it's where he is hometown boy. Whether he's a heel or not, there will still be a level of pop for him. But I also think that he'll go over because he's owed it. The last time they were in Perth, he was supposed to be heavily involved and was unable to do it due to personal matters, and was taken off the card, which was a real shame for him. So I think he's owed this hometown moment. We spoke about it last week, and that I still think Rhea might open the show because Bronson is a heel, so it wouldn't necessarily make sense to have a heel win in the opening match.
This is, sorry, that's for you to jump in. This is one of those cards though where the match order could potentially change.
Oh, well,
your thought process
definitely.
to some of the results.
But I think they'll win, and I think it might help this angle with the Usos, and Roman Reigns is involved in that angle as well. But I'm sure we'll touch on that at some point. But for me, I'm going to go Bronson Reed. Picks up the win.
I think this is one of those ones where I would probably go for a convoluted DQ, no contest finish, but I don't like doing that unless I feel so strongly about it that I can say this is how I think it would happen. Therefore, I'm predicting this exact, because just saying it'll be a draw is a bit pointless, because I know it's not a draw, but it is a draw.
I don't think it can happen now with the fact that it's an Australian street fight.
Aye, but if you introduce a non-Australian weapon,
a didgeridoo. I hope there's didgeridoos and all that under there. Apologies to any Australians listening. I promise I'm not trying to be offensive. The other thing Rob Irwin, I apologise if you're listening to this podcast. What's really, really interesting is I like the meme that's happening here with the WWE. Let's see how many street fights we can create. Because I think we're now on like 5 or 6 consecutive PLEs where we just have some iteration of a street fight. I'm in for it, man. I'm here. Take it the whole hog to WrestleMania.
What I'm interested in is, so the Donnybrook match that we had in Paris
street fight
is essentially a specific type of street fight, in that they have the barrels, and at least Sheamus and Rusev used them, right, and made a point of using them, and they had the shillelagh and some other stuff. But like the Vegas street fight at Mania didn't have anything. It was just, it happened to be in Vegas, and I thought maybe they would have pre-recorded a segment out on the streets that would have they go through the back, and then it plays out, and then they come back in, but they obviously don't actually go out. It's pre-recorded, but it didn't.
Oh yeah, it's a throwback to the Vince days.
Well, I know, but I think if you're going to do so, this is what I'm interested in. What makes it an Australian? Is it just a street fight, or is there going to be
it'll be exactly the same as the Donnybrook match? There will be
the Donnybrook. Aye. I'm hoping
there'll be flags and shit around the ring. A man doing the hacker behind the commentary table. I don't know.
I think that's the wrong specific. I'm interested to hear it. Ross, should I give us your official prediction? Although I think you were leaning one way there.
I don't even know if I have a way to lean with this. I'll go Bronson, but it's just that way where like it's the only match on the 5 that I'm like, I just don't have much of a vested interest in whatsoever. The other 4 are really interesting to me for lots of different reasons, but this one, it just feels like it's a wasted opportunity that could have went to someone else.
I think the issue I'm taking with this particular match is the constant returns from Roman. Not in a bad way, but like I get the point of Bronson put me on the shelf for 5 weeks, but everybody knew he was already filming and he had to go for 5 weeks. Like it didn't. Bronson putting him on the shelf didn't follow the story. It just wrote him off telly for 5 weeks.
What I think is important though is that when we watch it, we need to suspend that we knew he was going to be off. You need to suspend the reality and just watch the product for what it is and see that he did write him off TV for 5 weeks. Because it's easy to be critical and say, well, it was only because you were going to do X, Y, and Z over that 5 weeks. But in kayfabe, he wasn't doing that. He was injured and he was written off TV. So it's like, it probably does serve more of a purpose than we're probably giving it credit for in the realm of kayfabe. But
I mean, for the perspective of because Roman does it 5 times a year, it's like
5 times a month.
Aye. I mean, mind that time he returned 2 weeks in a row
Legend.
after SummerSlam.
Absolutely legend.
Match 2 that I have on the list, which I do again think about the match that opens the show, is the women's tag match, Rhea Ripley and IYO SKY versus Kabuki Warriors. Now, I put out some stuff on TikTok and YouTube the other day. I mean, the love for IYO SKY across the wrestling community, especially in the UK, is unbelievable, and it's good to see because, I mean, I think we'll have a real argument at the end of the year who's the MVP of this year, and I think it could come down to 2 women, genuinely. And on total merit, because I think in-ring IYO SKY has been better than anyone on the planet, or anyone in the E, at least on this year.
Anyone in any industry this year.
Aye. I'm just not wanting to draw in these people and their stupid nonsense opinions.
Fuck your tribalism.
Fuck Dave Meltzer. Unfortunately for this match, it was, and at least in my opinion, again, as a Raw match, I'm happy to dive in first and say that it is was only ever going to go one way, and the result in last night's match puts it even further going one way. There is zero chance that this will end with Rhea Ripley with a riptide to Kairi Sane and a 1-2-3 in the middle of the ring. And okay, there might be a post-match beatdown of IYO SKY, but it can't. Rhea's winning in Perth. There's just no doubt.
There is no way that tag team loses. I can see the finish. It will be Riptide to Kairi Sane, followed by a moonsault, and it'll be 1-2-3. I think Rhea will still get the pin. Rhea will be legal.
Aye.
But it's inconceivable that they two don't win in Perth. Not just because it's Rhea Ripley, because IYO is the hottest commodity they have right now. And there's no point in having her take a loss in a nothing tag team match in the sense of actual trajectory for either of them, so it makes no sense for them to lose. Asuka's been taking L's since she returned, so.
Especially because when they do pull the trigger on this IYO versus Asuka feud, it will
feed families.
It will feed families.
And I do think Asuka should go over in that feud.
Yes.
If they're serious about making a main eventer again.
Remaking it, I 100% agree.
But you will get to that.
Roscoe? 3-zip?
I think so. I have really enjoyed this feud. I think that since they took my direction on about doing some of these pre-recorded segments, I feel like it's just took on an extra level, so pat on the back to me. But in all seriousness, like, this is like, there are 4 people here that really are at the top of their game and are like serving us week on week with some proper, well, there's 4 people. 4 people involved.
Tina Pinnier.
Still counts. She's still part of it. And she's still playing a very good part. So no, very much enjoying it. Very much intrigued to see where it goes from here. Very much looking forward to that match. I think that it will go exactly how you have described it, and how it will play out is going to be fantastic for everyone.
Yep, perfect way to open the show. 2 mega faces.
Exactly.
Aye. And if Rhea's music hit first, that place will just lose their shit.
Oh, has to hit
first. Yeah.
The noise is going to just be phenomenal. The next match on the card, what I have, and I'll kick us off with a wee breakdown of La Primera, Stephanie Viqueur, and it'll come to yourself, Daz, and you can sum up the team's thoughts on Tiff and her reign. This one I know is splitting is going to split us, and I think Ross might end up with a deciding vote for the group, because
you poor people.
I probably picked Joe Henry. We have discussed over the last few weeks the difficulty in booking this match, because you have a Tiffany Stratton reign, which there was a bit of feedback on the minute, versus a Stephanie Viqueur reign, which is brand new and needs a strong start, especially because the Raw Women's division is so strong right now. You need to have a strong looking champion, otherwise people will start questioning why she's holding the title. She came onto the main roster this year as the hottest commodity in professional wrestling. It was must-watch TV every week. The timeline of getting to this point, especially because Rhea, IYO, and Lata and Naomi, which again, patting the back to us, we predicted way back at WrestleMania in their first ever show that Naomi to Raw as a heel was the move, was doing so well that you had to let that run its course, and it still hadn't run its course when obviously we get the great news that the bloodline continues. But this is now such an important position for Stephanie Viqueur because I don't feel, and this isn't my prediction because once Dad summarises the Tiffany side of things, I have to agree with everything he's going to say because it is what it is. This is a title reign that has to get off to not only a quick start, but it actually has to be a good match as well, because if you're the champion and you can't, we've praised her work in promos and we've praised the improvement, but it's not perfect. She has been protected on the mic, and it will get better and better. If you then have it doesn't need to be a not great match, especially when at least 3 of these matches are going to be fucking elite. You're immediately inviting that pressure on. Well, if it's not working outside the ring and it's not working in the ring, then she carry a title through Rumble, Mania season, etc. So, Stephanie Viqueur, brand new champion, really hot start in the main roster. So important that this weekend is strong for her. Not necessarily the result, but it's a strong weekend. And now, Daz, you can try and summarise our thoughts for the last 6 months and where Tiffany has been, where she is, and where this is going to go.
I think the best way to sum it up is Tiffany started in the exact same vein as Stephanie Viqueur, and she is now in a situation where they won't want Stephanie Viqueur to get to, and that's where your title run is hanging by a thread. Now, I spoke about it at length last week, so I'm not going to go into loads and loads of detail, but Tiffany really needs the win a lot more than Steph for one real reason. It isn't really a world champion on SmackDown, with the exception of, excluding Alexa and Charlotte because they're tied up in the tag division, with the exception of probably Nia Jackson. We all know that that's not what we want. Maybe transitional, but that's not what anybody really wants as world champion. And we're in a real position where if we can't book Tiffany to beat someone who is world champion level, she will always be second best as long as she's world champion. She will never be comparable to your Raw Women's Champion, which is why I think she really needs to win. However, I agree with absolutely everything you said, that to book Stephanie strong and have her lose won't necessarily hurt her, but you don't want your first proper match to end as a defeat. I'll start with a prediction, right? Because for me, it's the only real way that this match makes sense to me. But the only thing I can't make sense of is who it is that one of the two is attacked by someone else and the other picks up a win by DQ. Because neither can really afford to lose. Tiffy certainly can't afford to lose cleanly for her run. And I think that one of them needs to have a setup for a feud. And I think it's probably more likely to be Tiffy, because I feel like Stephanie will probably end up in Women's War Games. It's probably where that's headed. There's a lot of women's jiggity pokery going on Raw, whereas there's nothing really for Tiffany on the SmackDown side of things really to chew on. So don't ask me who it is. Not got a clue who it is. I'm going to throw a name out, and I really don't think it's going to happen, so feel free to laugh and jest. I'd like it to be Blake Monroe. I think it's the perfect person to reignite Tiffany as a champion. But it's probably not going to be. It's probably going to be Nia Jax or Jade Cargill. Yeah. But for me, it ends in a DQ because it protects both of them, but more so Tiff, because Tiff really cannot afford to lose that match cleanly, no matter how good she looks in it.
Is Bianca Belair cleared?
I don't think she's cleared. There was a lot of chat about Bianca this week, especially online. The feeling is that people aren't actually sure if she'll get cleared for quite a while. I don't actually know what the actual injury is, but it seems to be really, really pernickety. The other name that came into my head, if it's Steph Viqueur, is Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan,
we have been thinking it might be
would blow the roof off. But again, there's no real timeline for her. But for me, it has to end in DQ, because either one of these taking a loss, it does nothing for the title then. But if Tiffany
Me-
loses, she'll drop the title at Survivor Series.
The thing with Ross will come to you just right now for your prediction on this, and I'll go last. But the thing with the Australia shows it's not like a London or Paris show where if you're on the East Coast there is multiple flights per day and that person could be hidden or do some media work. It's like if they put Bianca Belair on their chartered 747 to Perth, you're doing that to put her on the show. It's not like you're going to go there because you have your Australians doing the media work. So
if there isn't interference, the person is already in Australia.
Yes,
they're already there.
I agree, 100%. Aye, should I? Agreed. So, Ross, you want to talk us through your thoughts, and I'll go last.
Yeah, I think this one is interesting because of the reasons that Daz alluded to. Is that there's a lot of potential pitfalls that can happen from the person who does not win this match, and I don't think there is not going to be a winner from this match. I don't think it's going to be one of those ones. I think it'll be a very good match. I like what Daz is putting out there with the specific people that could be coming in to potentially get in the way. But for me, because we've all been kind of critical of Tiffy's reign, but I don't think she's set to lose it because she's got that Maybelline contract, whatever it is.
Maybe
she's going to have that for a while. Exactly. Yeah. She's got that for a while regardless. I think Stephanie Viqueur's probably going over here. I think just because she's only just in effect got her foot in the door, that it would be it's believable, but it would be a little bit of a shame if 2 or 3 weeks in she suddenly then loses a big match and you're like, oh, okay, that's a problem. And also because we kind of love her anyway, so just give her the dub.
I've been overly critical of Tiffy. And I'm a huge fan of her. I think she's phenomenal. She's an absolute athlete, and she just has everything there is to be successful in the modern WWE. And also, I need these wrestling cards to go at the fucking moon. But I don't blame her. It's a weak division that she's unfortunately the focal point of. And like when Nia Jax was announced as like a feud run about the Mania time, Ross, you were disappointed, and Daz and I were actually Nia Jax was really good as champion prior, and it was a good run, and it was strong, and it was arguably the best work. And I don't think she's the issue. She's just, it's an easy target because previously she has been the issue, essentially, or at least in our eyes. But it's so stale, and I'm 100% on board with what Daz has said, that this would be the final nail in the coffin, but unfortunately it can't be the final nail in the coffin because
there's no one to take it off.
There's no one there, and if she's going to hold it to Mania, it needs to feel important and feel big, and not be. However, I'm also looking at it from the perspective of it can't really get any worse. So
it can.
Accept that it's tanked, and don't accidentally tank both your women's world champions, because if Stephanie loses, then I'm probably sitting here next week and saying the most important women's championship in the WWE is the Intercontinental Championship. That's the one that feels the most important, and that's not right. I was intending to pick Steph to win reasonably cleanly. That was my intention, but I think Daz has said something that's actually changed my mind ever so slightly, and I'm disappointed by it. But for other reasons than you might think. I think the Julia tease on Friday night is probably setting up the interference. She will be there anyway. She is a phenomenal wrestler who's stuck, and this might breathe a bit of life into both, because like we say every week, the two of them can have some good wrestling matches and re-establish themselves. The reason I'm not a fan of it is because it just once again buries that US women's title, and if she drops it to allow her to challenge Tiff, it's one of these ones where it doesn't elevate the next person. It's just, we needed to move this on to do this.
Do you think though that a feud with Tiff could elevate that title to a point where, look, this mid-card champion can hang with the world champion? Would it elevates it to a point where somebody could come in and take it?
Both titles in the line, you never know.
That would be really good. I'd be up for that.
It would work. I think I'm going to have because there's technically a title on the line, I'm going to have Steph Viqueur walking out as the Crown Jewel champion.
Steph
and
by
I'm going
DQ. Steph by DQ is my
Steph by
yeah.
DQ are extremely unclean finish. But I'm going to make the prediction that I think Julia could be the person because she'll be there anyway.
It's not bad, sure.
I do like the Liv Morgan idea because she might play the game of I am the Crown Jewel champion and no one else is getting it and just causing a contest. But I think there's a reason that Julia was involved in Friday, and I don't hate the two of them going up against each other because they can just have good wrestling matches. I just hope it doesn't further bury the US Women's title. But this is one of the ones where, regardless, they have to look good. No matter what happens in the last few minutes that sets up the finish, the first 10 to 15 has to be a good wrestling match.
100%. And it will.
Because if it's
potential to be match of the night, to be honest, the two of them together has potential to be match of the night. It just depends how much time they're going to get slated for if they add a sixth match. Because you've got to think Rhea's getting 15, 20 minutes probably.
And an entrance and an outro post-match. And
you've got Bronson and Roman are going to get 15, 20 minutes because it's a stipulation match plus Roman's entrance plus the possible 5-minute beatdown of Roman at the end to rate him off TV for another 5 weeks. There's that, and then you've obviously got a couple of big matches to come up. So it'll be interesting to see how much time they actually get, which probably does lead into interference. Is probably one of the better ways to go because you can cut the match short. But I'm intrigued by it. It's interesting.
It's interesting, and I think it has the potential to reignite Tiffany's title reign. And I'm not calling for Tiffany to be stripped and demoted and the title. I called for her to drop it at WrestleMania, not because I felt like she's not good enough, because I think
she's battled really well to revive this title reign.
She's not in the ring at the level of maybe Rhea and IYO, but as an overall package and character, she is as good as it gets because she can work on the mic so well. I just think that her character towards the end of NXT, the girl type thing, it was just a slightly better character than.
That's why I believe Blake Monroe is the one to revive her as champion. I think it's a perfect match for her to say that she can do it much better than Blake Monroe can, which is saying a lot because Blake Monroe is very, very good. But it might.
There's a natural clash there that just
they can. But
and
Julia is probably the better show.
Aye, and I'm a huge fan of the work Tiffany did, and I think it's not her fault because the last time they were in Perth, it was at Elimination Chamber, and that was like the crowd was so behind her, and the noise in that place when she got eliminated was unbelievable. And I think what happened is she's naturally a very good heel who's became this tweener because she's a well-liked heel, and it's a really hard role to play. There's only so many people can do it, and the WWE in the last couple of years has very much struggled with too many of the heels being too likeable. Like Drew McIntyre's a huge heel, but because the way he does it, he's telling the truth, it's difficult to hate him. Kevin Owens is the same as a heel. Roman Reigns, when he was the heel, was like, it's hard to hate the guy because like we're booing fuck at him, but we're also standing there blunts to the sky. I know. So same with The Rock, because like The Rock was the final boss as the heel guy, but we don't like him, but everywhere's popping when that music hits. So 100%. It's a hard role to play, and I think it would just allow her to refine that. I have saved Cody versus Seth. I think it'll close the show as the main event. So the next match is 5 days from the end. The GOAT, John Cena versus AJ Styles. John Cena. This is the match we've been waiting for. It's the one that we're looking forward to the most probably on this tour because of what they did 9 years ago. Again, unfortunately, I think it's a relatively straightforward. Maybe less so after what happened the last time at WrestlePalooza, but I think it's a relatively straightforward outcome. However, I think what we're going to get is sort of 12 to 15 minutes of fan service and throwbacks and fun. My bold prediction is that John Cena will hit Sister Abigail. That's the bold prediction for some point in the match. I think that's the one finish. That would be nice. It's the one finisher we haven't. That in my head, I'm thinking we should have seen from him and we haven't seen.
I also.
We're not getting Rock.
No. He's a massive tease. He will hit the rock bottom prior to his final match, I think, because of the Dubai about who it could be. I think he's going to tease as well walls of Jericho, or something of that ilk, a bit of code break, like backbreak or something. But yeah, I mean, it's the most obvious outcome of the night. It has to be. I just can't wait for the handshake and hug at the end. I'd love them to recreate the low blow and turn AJ heel again at the end. I think that'd be really cool and send them in a monster heel run to close out. But nah, it's going to be the more every time I watch them, a little part of me dies because I'm one step closer to watching them for the final time, and I am going to bawl like a little girl when that day comes in December, because I know I'm never going to see it again. I know Ross, you believe that he will add dates, and I will be furious if he adds dates, because the fucking motherfucker is ruining me if he adds dates. But he's just he's so good, and he's going to be lacing up with arguably the best wrestler, one of the best wrestlers left in the technically, in terms of like an actual technical wrestler. AJ's social media work has been very good in the build up to this, and he basically put it all out and like, this doesn't need a build. We don't need to build this match. It will kick ass when we step between the ropes, and I am in full agreement. My only worry is how long are they going to get? Am I going to get 15 minutes of fan service before we get a 7-8 minute flourish, or am I going to get 6 minutes fan service and then a 4-minute outcome? Am I going to get 10 minutes? I'm really sad at the thought of it being a relatively short match, but I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I think it'll be good.
These might be my favourite two guys of all time, and I know that might sound ridiculous because John Cena's my goat, but
having AJ Styles as your second favourite of all time is a very left field shout. But I don't hate it.
I watched. I shit you not. 2005. I'm flicking through Freeview channels. My parents' old house, and whatever channel it was, 13, 14, 15. I think it was Challenge TV. I'm like, well, there's wrestling on. Like
an X match.
Is that Christian? Was that Christian? I'm like, listen, fuck, that's actually Christian. So I sat and watched this show, and then I heard of this thing called the X Division, and it was like cruiserweights without a weight limit, and this makes no fucking sense. Then I watched that triple threat at Unbreakable, and it was Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, and I'm like, yeah, that makes total fucking sense. And ever since that day, I was like, yeah, AJ Styles is the guy. So it's left field, but it's not like I watched a shit ton of them. I've just realised that's 20 years ago. Holy fuck, oh my god. That is 20 years ago that I first watched AJ Styles, and even then he'd been going for a few years. That is nuts. And I'm just looking forward to this. And I made the play a couple of weeks ago, and I'll make the play again. And I just hope that, as you say, there's a handshake at the end, there's a hug, and there's a total 15,000 people on their feet applauding these guys, because AJ has kind of come out and said that he will be at Mania next year, so the February thing's probably going to be through Mania, so he's got time to do his bit just now and get his bit next year, hopefully, which is why I think Cena wins, especially because there's now two schools of thought there. I'm sure Ross will dive in. One is that Gunther has been picked, which comes from Meltzer, so the fuck knows if it's true, but that makes a little bit of sense in terms of passing it to also the uber heel who can do it in a respectful way. The other school of thought is that, and this is what I really don't want, is that he'll finally get Brock Lesnar properly. That just makes no sense to me. So Gunther being the guy who just retires everybody at random Saturday night main events throughout his career might be a good laugh.
The streak.
The December 13th show is going to mean nothing if Cena loses again, because it's just not going to matter. So I have to go Cena, but I think it's just going to be a good bit of fan service.
I think it will be a fan servicey match, as we all hope it will be. I don't think it's as clear cut to work out where it's going to go because of this fact that AJ Styles is also retiring, and a lot of people, not saying us because we're all cognizant of that fact, but a lot of people have forgotten that he's literally retiring 4 months after Cena is. So you've got that question mark of, well, how on earth can they both go out on their backs? It is very tricky when such a big match is slotted right in here. I don't really have too much of an issue with either one winning it per se. I think it is going to be great. I think you kind of have to give it to Cena if he is going to put someone over on the way out, because, as you say, it just makes that last match worthwhile. I think if Cena does lose, then I think all bets are off for what his last few matches might actually hold, and maybe actually that's the better choice, because then maybe the Gunther pick's not real, not the real deal, and that's not what's happening. But then you actually can't predict where it's going to go, and that's usually where things can get more exciting. But I think for me,
I'm still
holding
out.
that wins.
I'm still holding out, and the more I think about it, the more Gunther makes sense. I'm still holding out for this gauntlet match for John Cena at the end, where it is like Kurt Angle, and just even if it is just like a 2-minute spot where these guys just come out to give him his farewell for the IC title. He wins the IC title for Dom on a Raw in the build up, holds an open challenge, becomes a gauntlet match, and Gunther takes the title off him. I don't hate it. It's believable, but I just
Gunther doesn't need it though, does he?
I
Either,
know
that's the thing.
he doesn't. But see the thought of watching Cena wrestle Gunther 1-on-1 in his final match. It bores me to fucking death. It absolutely bores me. I don't want to watch it. That's not what I want. I will watch it because it's John Cena's last match, and I'm watching it through teary eyes. But I just don't want to watch that as the greatest of all time's final appearance, and I just don't want it. I don't mind it at the end of a gauntlet match where I feel satisfied at the end. But yeah, fuck it.
Would you have that gauntlet match though on a Raw, or are you having the gauntlet match
on Saturday
as
night
his
main
final match?
Saturday night main
I
event.
think start it on the Monday Night Raw. I just
Raw, not all the way. You wheel him into SmackDown again and just have another 5 on him.
I think you've made a good point there, Ross. So my concern is that if they decide to go with AJ Saturday, John has to lose every match now. That's the problem.
Well, does he?
Yeah, I think so. At least this way he could win them all. He could lose one. Like the other place did have Sting go out on top, and it worked, so it can be done.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
See if they do.
There's not many others that you could think it could work for other than him, really. So.
I think that if they were going to have John lose all of his matches until he retires, he wouldn't be wrestling AJ just now. We'd have got that earlier, and he'd be wrestling a Dom Mysterio or a Carmelo Hayes or something right now, and he would just be getting out in his back to all these up and comers to the point where he either does go out in his back and ultimately puts the next person over, like Gunther, because he's already put over 4 or 5 talents on the way, or he actually goes over himself, goes out looking standing tall, and he retires.
Having already done the job.
But right now we're in a place where he's only wrestled vets.
It's worth mentioning the decision to have Brock Lesnar beat him is still fucking stupid.
And it makes sense for him to win, but I don't know what we're doing with Brock. So it makes sense if Brock returns next Monday. But if Brock doesn't return very, very soon, it's just a very odd situation to be in.
So next Monday is in Perth, so it's unlikely Brock's going to Australia. It's going to be at least another week. Which
also then makes you think, what are we doing here?
I'm going to get that in a t-shirt.
Could be our first
Golden Shovel merch comes.
Keep your eyes peeled.
The final match, and we're doing good on time. We've got 10 minutes over this at least, but it is Cody versus Seth. Now, we had a bit of not back and forward, but I said last week we need to start drawing a fucking lane under QB1 and his ridiculous streak of winning every single thing. And as you pointed out, why would the line be drawn?
Why would you draw that stupid Crown Jewel Championship?
Because they've got to just draw it at some point, and this doesn't matter, and that's maybe the reason for it.
Didn't really matter either. In the grand scheme of things, didn't really matter.
No, because they could have picked the Raw challenger for King of the Ring. I know. CM Punk could have won it. These guys have done. See the problem. These guys have done a really good job of hyping this match, and it's why I'm getting annoyed with the Raw and SmackDown situation where they have to get their bit in. CM Punk's has to kind of be involved because the CM Punk versus one of them is going to happen at some point for a title. The Vision have to get their bit in, and it's taking up too much time. See if these guys had already split away for that story, it'd be great. This is exactly the type of match that I'm like, I really want to see it until the bell rings, because I know once the bell rings and then it rings again at the end, that's it, at least for a few months, because they don't have a story. They have their own stories they need to get back to, but they're building it really well. The issue I've got is that from Seth Rollins' perspective, from the Monday Night Raw perspective, he lost the feud to Cody clean 3-0 when Cody had half a chest in the Hell in a Cell match. Great feud, did a great job, and Seth has been praised by Cody and others for saying, no, Cody needs to go over, I'll be fine, but if you want him to be the Roman's guy, my biggest concern is that I think Roman versus Seth doesn't need a title when it happens. I think it should be a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania next year, and it should be like a proper blood feud ending. Just the two of them. Don't need four other guys, just the two of them. Or a 3 Stages of Hell or something. I think a proper this ends now type match. Yeah. 3 Stages of Hell might be the better match. Or a First Blood or something stupid. I understand that First Blood's risky because people can accidentally bleed and then the match is over. But this should be a feud ender, and it doesn't need a 3 matches. Or it needs. We've been at this for 10 years, and we need to end this now. There's also the rumour that it could be Punk versus Cody, or it could be Roman versus Cody 3. So whoever Roman does ultimately go after, title or non-title, needs to be strong. But I'm struggling with this because it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't fucking matter. That's how I see it. That's for the SmackDown Cody perspective. You want to pitch in with how it this perspective?
I really wish he could drop the title on Saturday, but it's not physically possible. Everybody who listens to this pod knows my thoughts on Cody. I'm not enamoured by the guy he's champion. Tells a good story when he's chasing it. The problem I've got is it's the same fucking story every time. This is a really weird one. It's the same as I said earlier for Braun and Bronson. You can't keep losing. So for me, Seth has to win. And that's going to be my prediction. It Seth Rollins wins. Purely on the basis of necessity. This is really bizarre because up until Brock squashed John Cena, I couldn't see past Roman and Seth colliding at WrestleMania. I now don't think Seth is actually going to be the guy that holds the title. I think they're going to put it on Brock, and we're going to get Roman and Brock for the title. I think that's where this is headed, and a part of me likes it and part of me fucking hates it, because we're going to get Brock again as that champion who's part time, but then is that bad now that all of your world champions are basically part time now? There's no such thing as a full time world champion. The closest you've got is Seth Rollins, but he doesn't wrestle every week himself, so it's really, really tricky. I think that for this match, I think Seth has to win, mostly to put an end to this fucking ridiculous run that Cody Rhodes is on, where anything of any sort of small value automatically goes in his favour. I think the easiest way to do it is the other Braun, who isn't actually wrestling in a singles match, has something to do with the outcome. But they'll probably book it the other way, and there'll be a fracture with fucking Paul Heyman and Cody will pin him or sort of. This is the match I'm least. See, to be honest, this shouldn't main event.
No, I shouldn't.
Viqueur and Stratton should main event purely for intrigue. Because there's much more at stake for both of those champions than this match. I really, really can't be arsed with this match, to be honest. If this was in the middle of the card, I probably wouldn't watch it. I'll be honest.
I'd actually have this open the show, knowing that Rhea can get them back on side, the crowd back on side, second match, if you were playing it safe. Because I'm the same as you. This is either going to have a stupid ending or it's going to set up War Games. And the only way it sets up War Games is if Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre and everybody gets involved. And at that point, I'm like, I don't get that either, because Drew McIntyre might be feuding with Cody, but he's also not going to help Seth win a match.
Yeah, and I think that
if you're pretending that everything in the last 2 years is still real,
I think it's really interesting because I'm trying to figure out where everybody plays in this scenario, because everything revolves around Seth and Division on Raw, and we're getting really odd backstage segments between Roman and the Usos that don't really align to Roman and
the match has been booked.
It's like a little bit backwards. I think that I said it last week, I think we're clearly setting up a Jimmy Uso push, but I don't really understand the way he fits in, because I don't think he'll make the team at War Games. I think there's names in front of him to make the team at War Games. I don't really know how he builds into this push, but I think Roman's objective is to get both of the Usos over before he goes away. So I'm really, really confused by the main event scene on Monday Night Raw, which is why I can't really call how the match ends. I just think Seth has to win. But you're right, this match could end with 10 people in the ring. 9 people, because we don't know that Brock's the last guy. We don't know. But I'm really, really confused by it. It's a mind boggle. It's a boggler.
10 people in the ring could be summarised in one word, and that word is chaos.
Yeet.
And jumping across to a man who does love a bit of chaos.
Good segue.
Is that the only thing? Is that the only thing that can save this match? Is some sort of chaos, or because these guys will have a good wrestling match. It's how it ends is the issue. I think is for all of us. And does it set up War Games? Does it set up the Vision splitting? Does it set up nothing? Does it just have a match? Because you'd imagine there's going to be some sort of presentation of the Crown Jewel Championship and etc. at the end. So can you have the chaos and have that? And
it would need to be post that presentation, surely.
I would think so. I think that this is, again, it's one of these matches where, these two will put on a good match and they'll tell a good story, but we know it's not the accumulation of anything, so we do then automatically go, right, well, what's next? I think it is going to be the one that sets off a couple of things. I think this is going to be your sort of light in the touch paper. You know, you've lit the dynamite almost, and this is your run, potentially right past War Games and right all the way through to Mania, because it's the genesis of something. It's the genesis of a couple of different bits. Though Daz is absolutely spot on. I have absolutely no idea how on earth all of this all fits together. But I kind of like that in a way, because I want to watch it. I want to know how they're going to do it. So I'm going to sit my ass on the couch and I'm going to sit and watch. I think that I am in Daz's camp, where I think Seth Rollins does need to win, because they can't just keep on having him losing. They need to, and honestly, I wouldn't even mind if it was clean, to be brutally honest. I think that would be fine.
I prefer it to be clean.
And Cody could take it. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue as long as it's a banger of a match. I am very much looking forward to seeing the fallout, just because there's so many ways it can go and half of them don't make sense. So just bring it on, really. I think that's my summary.
And I'm going to join you guys and make it a 3-0 prediction.
3-0 against Cody Rhodes is crazy.
Mad, isn't it? We are clearly so out of touch here.
No, and the thing is like I'm happy to pick him when it makes sense. This is out of necessity, because again, a bit like the Steph situation, Seth did technically lose his last PLE match, and he's been champion for a couple months. He needs a big win, because when the time comes, that he's got to look strong. Cody's looked strong enough, and also I'm the same. I like Cody Rhodes. I just don't enjoy him as champion. And I think it's because he's finished the story, but he hasn't evolved it, and that's an issue. And I know that can be hypercritical as somebody who is a massive John Cena fan, and John Cena played the same character for 20 years.
He had to play it, though.
He had to play it, and Cody doesn't. There's enough big stars right now, so I'm picking Seth out of necessity that it's 3-0. I think the interesting thing is that we got very little chaos at WrestlePalooza. It was the most boring show of the year, and we've all kind of predicted a hell of a lot of chaos in this card, and I think obviously there'll be somewhere in between. There'll be some chaos. There won't be interference every match, but I think if there's not a lot of interference, then this could be this could be a really good show. There's 5 solid matches and some stories set up, or it could be absolute dog shit, and there'll be nothing in between. That's my overall prediction for Saturday.
I reckon it will be the jet lag. The jet lag will just send all loopy, and that's where you get the nonsense from.
I actually think that the foreign PLEs tend to be better quality than their home PLEs, so I'm cautiously optimistic about this one, in the sense that the majority of matches on the card, probably with the exception of Bronson and Roman, I'm looking forward to as a wrestling match. But the fact they've added a stipulation, because they know that's the weak link, And I think that the one I'm least looking forward to from a story perspective is Cody and Seth. However, it might tell the best story if there is unbridled chaos at the end of the match, because Raw is in Australia, so you could quite easily delay the presentation of the championship to the Monday night. You could open the show with that in the Monday night. So it's interesting. What I find really interesting is that we're writing off both trophy presentations because we're having both of the World Championship head-to-heads end with some sort of nonsense.
This is why, however the match weekend, etc., gets announced and presented
in order
would impact how we see it, because if there's a press release on Friday and it's Open SmackDown and the GMs get together and say, Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce will present the Crown Jewel Championships on Monday Night Raw, immediately we're going, right, whoever won main events is ending in complete fucking chaos. That's a fact. And until that's announced, that would potentially change how we see it. In the same way that if one of those matches is announced that it's going on immediately before Rhea Ripley, then it might be an unpopular outcome. Therefore, it gets the crowd back on side. So these things do matter. Unfortunately, we have to record this on a Tuesday night. We can't wait for that decision to be made. So, with that being said, for all the viewers and listeners in the UK, it's a 1 p.m. start, which sounds great, but when you're married with a kid, it's not. I'll have to watch it late at night, probably still.
6 a.m. in the sunny place of Mexico, 6 a.m.
But see, think about it, you could just wake up at normal time, not check your phone, have breakfast,
watch it in my hotel room,
chill by the pool, and watch it whatever. You know what I mean? It's not bad. I'd rather be watching it in Mexico than try to scramble when about everything else that's going on in life.
Depends. Can you buy this in Mexico?
For those on audio, that was a very colourful can of Monster.
Pipeline Punch, the second
Monstero, maybe over there.
Monster hit us up with that deal. We drink enough of the stuff.
We probably need to stop showing it in camera for free then if we want a presentation deal. And that is about the best place to bring this to a close now. We're going to have an off-pod conversation because this week's Saturday Squash is supposed to be our favourite matches of all time, but it is 11:30 and we are all fucked. So it may be that, it may be something else. We'll let you know. Keep an eye out on Saturday morning for that.
It'll just be a vlog of me on my flight sleeping. That'll just be a time lapse.
And as always, we will be back next week to do our outcome of the weekend. These weekends, as Daz has just said 2 minutes ago, are always brilliant because it's a full weekend spectacle of wrestling. Friday, Saturday and Monday. Take it easy, guys. We'll see you in the next one.